Okay, it's my turn. Book club. So I chose Frankenstein, Alive, Alive, the complete collection by Steve Niles and Bernie Wrightson, with extra art. And they say what do they say exactly? They say additional art by Kelley Jones, but I do think it's probably accurate to just say he's the fourth issue artist, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a sequel to Frankenstein, the Mary Shelley Frankenstein. Bernie Wrightson. There's a beautiful kind of tribute to Bernie Wrightson in the beginning of this book that I have. This, by the way, took 4 years to come out because of Bernie Wrightson's incredible artwork and the fact that he got sick. So this was out for a while, and Steve Niles writes this beautiful kind of introduction to it where he talks about, like, I'm credited as the writer, but this was Bernie's thing. Like, this was something that this was something that he thought of. This was something that he mapped out. I just put words to page, and I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So what do we think about this?
What do you think, Sparks?
Excuse me.
Sorry. I really, really like it. I mean, I like Wrightson's art for Frankenstein a lot. Brandon knows this. I have a hardcover, I think you know it too, hardcover copy of Frankenstein. Jesus. Hardcover copy of Frankenstein, which is the book with Bernie Wrightson's art interspersed for some of the pages, moments from the book. Really just exceptional stuff. And I love to see that get carried over here. I think that it's kind of interesting how where the book ends isn't actually where Frankenstein's monster ends up, Frank, because we see where he ends up at the beginning. We see him with the circus, the freak show. We don't actually come back to that idea. We just get him telling us everything before moment. And I thought that was kind of interesting that we don't return.
Maybe he had,
but we stay in the place of his solitude at the end, which I think I think really what it is that there's an amount of, like, even if Frankenstein is physically here, he's mentally Frankenstein's monster, Frank, in this context, is physically surrounded by these people. He's always mentally in this solitude.
The final, even though, but even if not a man, I am still alive. And any creature of this world, whether born of science or sorcery, deserves to live. And that's beautiful.
Because you're being told, like, as he's surrounded by all these people, like the story of the last time he had a friend. And it didn't go good. And like he felt that, like, this is going bad. Oh, this is going really bad.
Yeah.
Oh, you're giving me bad my creator vibes.
Doctor and babies.
I do love the interpretation of, like, Victor haunting him. I think that's all done really well. I really love the look of him
when he's Captain America.
When he emerges from the molten, he has no hair, and he's like renewed in a sense. And comes out. I thought that was really cool. I just love his interpretation of the creature. I think it's really good.
Yeah, my only negative on this book is it's way shorter than I thought it was going to be. This is only like 4 issues, and I'm like, I read this thing so fast, and I'm like, I want more. I needed more. It's a really lovely story about what happened to Frankenstein after his time with Vic. He goes on some adventures, meets some great people, some bad people.
I love just the interpretation of the monster, things that we get, like, just like an animal, I am printed on Victor. I couldn't help it. Like, this is a part of my connection. And I think, like, the interpreted voice and visualization for the monster is just so in line with classic Frankenstein. It feels very, very natural continuance to me.
I really love the book Frankenstein. It's my favorite of those kind of classic horror novels. The Draculas, the Invisible Mans, the Jekyll and Hydes.
The creature from the lagoons.
Frankenstein is my favorite. I adore that book. It's the only book that I didn't cheat my way through in high school. I read that book front and back. I was so enraptured with it. And so I was really interested in Wrightson doing this, and I waited for the trade. I'm really glad I did. I love this. I think it's really cool to see Frank kind of have a good life for a minute and then kind of flash back to, and I think it's strange that we don't end there. But I really like everything about this book. I think this book is gorgeous. I think I love the story it's telling with the doctor who's just trying to save his wife. The way they visualize whatever ailment the wife has, kind of this between life and death. She has got dead eyes. She is dead for all intents and purposes. And I really like how that is told. And
I thought we were gonna get some Bride of Frankenstein stuff going on with this. I thought like I'm undead. Maybe I can help her come back to life or something. But that wasn't.
mm-hmm.
I think the poetry. I think this is, I'm a big Alan Moore fan. He writes really poetic. This is my favorite little section that he wrote. This is when he's talking over, I think her name's Dolly, who's the
I have this too, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are also my victim, talking about like how I got you killed. You are also my victim. In your murder, my crimes are consummated. The miserable series of my being is wound to its close. It's so beautiful. Steve Niles, he's a great horror writer. He did 30 Days of Night, creator of that comic book. Perfect guy to do artwork with Bernie Wrightson. And they were friends. I also read that the forward thing that he talks about. Like, I never thought I have to write about this about my friend. Beautiful stuff. Just like this could have been so much, more epic and more action packed. And I'm glad that like it didn't have to be that. It could just be a beautiful story of this person trying to be alive.
It's very tonally. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, you go ahead. Totally.
It's just very tonally of a piece with the original novel. It's very much the monster taking like the next steps of like its own contemplation of self and its sense of, regardless of all my desires, I will always ruin these lives around me. That is the weight I feel regardless. Like, it's never stated. There's no way to say for sure that seeing him caused her death.
Yeah.
But he has decided that is true. Just because of the horror that he knows he inflicts upon others. And I think that sentiment and I think the beauty of like Rachel being afraid of him and then coming to depend on him is really nice too.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Well, I was going to say, I really appreciate that what Wrightson really understands Frankenstein, right? But really understands what that story is about, what that story is trying to say. And he brings that same understanding to this story. This does feel like, there's tons of Frankenstein movies that are a sequel to the first one, although the first one takes a lot of liberties with the source material. There's tons of book sequels and comic book sequels, movie sequels. Hell, Frankenstein, if anyone remembers that.
Frankenstein is a member of like the Justice League in the DC universe right now or something.
Yeah. What?
I said Penny Dreadful. Another interpretation.
Very great one.
And so and while a lot of those, it's really fun to have a lot of those, and some of those are really good. I really like that this feels like a true sequel to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. This feels like the natural next story, and it works really well because where the story starts, having Frankenstein begin his story that he's telling us through the framing device of the circus. It basically is where the book ends. Because the book ends in the frozen tundra after Victor Frankenstein is dead, and this could be a day later. He's still in that tundra, and Victor Frankenstein starts haunting him, and he's trying to end it all. Or this could be a week later. But it feels very much of you could go from one to the other very easily.
Right.
I love that he's the monster standing on a volcano talking to the ghost of Victor, and Victor's like, you murdered my brother, my best friend, and my wife. And Frank's like, yes, and I would have killed you too. You did in the end, but look, the mountain explodes, your doom is nigh. I will see you in hell, Victor. Perhaps you need a soul to go to hell, as he's just covered in lava. And I'm like, that is so baller. Oh my God, so good.
And like Frank even says, like, is this actually an apparition of my creator, or is this just my subconscious telling me these things?
Mm-hmm.
I love using Victor as a kind of like dissenting voice within Frank's mind, trying to casting those doubts of his creation, of his life, even of his death, because he can't die.
Right.
I love when the house is burning down and Dolly's got the doctor like in an embrace, and like there was no time to stop for either of them. As we rushed past, I caught a glimpse of Dolly holding Dr. Ingalls in close embrace, both of them aflame. For just an instant, I saw Dolly seeming to grin. a rictus of agony, perhaps, or a smile of triumph? To this day, I do not know. Oh, it's so horrific. Is it good? Is it bad? I love it.
Yeah. I really like the moment. I don't have it saved, unfortunately. I forgot, but where he's holding the baby and he says, "I knew instantaneously I cannot be a father."
Yeah.
And like that concept of where he engages his life. I also like going back to the Victor thing, like when he's consumed in the lava again. That is kind of like again like third life essentially is emerging from it, because for a long time he is not haunted by Victor again.
Mm-hmm.
It is not until he feels that he has caused the death of another that he begins to be haunted by Victor again. But up to that point, he doesn't see Victor anymore.
Yeah.
And
the book ends like not where it begins. So it feels like maybe he had plans to do more, but just didn't have time. You never know.
So Kelley Jones was the person handpicked by Wrightson. And I think for the most part, Kelley Jones, to me is an interesting choice to continue on. I really like Kelley Jones's work. It's very horror. He works very well in the horror genre, and it's interesting because his work isn't as detailed as Wrightson's is, and so it kind of creates a dissonance between the two art styles when it does happen, when their styles just change. But what I really like is that this book includes Wrightson's original, because he had like rudimentally sketched them out to plan out this book in general, and you can see those pencil lines still in the fourth issue where Kelley Jones has taken over, almost like they want to keep the outline that Kelley Jones was working with, and you see it. You can kind of compare the original Wrightson panels that he had already mapped out with what Kelley Jones did, and how closely Kelley Jones tried to keep it in line with what exactly Wrightson was working with. So it's kind of cool that Kelley Jones wasn't really working from nothing. He had something to work with.
Yeah. I know Kelley Jones from doing Batman and Swamp Thing stuff. So it is, he's definitely less detailed than Bernie, but he has a similar aesthetic that he is a good choice to finish a book like this. It is, looking at those breakdowns in the back of the book, it is really, really cool. I love seeing the process of comic book creation. I love it. So seeing like the original layouts and like taking someone else's work and not like wanting to do their style, but not wanting to like just do one for one. Like, hey, I'm just going to copy your work. I'm still my own artist. Finding the balance there, I think must have been really tough. So it felt like his own work, but also Bernie's. But I think it works. I think you can definitely tell when it's not Bernie, but like it's still really good.
I really love Wrightson's artwork. Like I really, really, really love his artwork here. Like I love seeing the pencil, the it almost feels like pencils, right? It almost feels like pencil artwork. You can kind of feel the graphite in the artwork, and the backgrounds are so beautifully detailed. I love looking at the doctor's Dr. Ingalls labs, because even in the far background there is still something that Wrightson has drawn in. It is not he no longer library. Kind of the library, exactly.
Which every book is super detailed. Like, man, that's so much work, Bernie. Come on.
And it's beautiful because he wanted to put in that work, because it makes this feel so alive in a really interesting way. I really love this book. This is my favorite book that I picked this year.
Yeah. My only complaint is like it's really short, and like it feels like it belongs to a bigger piece that unfortunately we'll never get. But it is a beautiful piece of work.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Daddle, doer.